A crisp weekend in October sees the Preston Hall Museum bristling with anticipation. It is the 25th year that Peat, the resident blacksmith, has run forgings on its premises. This popular historical location will see blacksmiths from across the country forging together to produce a single piece of bespoke ironwork.
This year is the Jubilee Forging. I've been running this forging for 25 years and we've always done little projects which have been just a one-day thing. Make a set of bookends out of the scrap or something like that. This time we've got a proper project.
This year it was a bit special because it was Peat's 25th. We've been talking about it for some time and we came up with the idea it would be nice to have something to remember the event by. We have two gateways. One has a fine set of gates that came over from Middlesbrough and the other has a set of gates that has probably been around for the same amount of time that Peat's been with us. We decided that we'd like to replace those with a set of gates that would commemorate this weekend, and it'll celebrate the history of the park as well and our partnership with Barber.
The opportunity for making a pair of gates for the museum, which is a unique work of art. It's some way of saying thank you. The museum's been very good to me, and so I want to do something back. A pair of gates like this, if you got one person, it would be a long job. I would say we're hoping to do in a day what would take one of us 3 or 4 months. We've got 3 master smiths in charge of 3 forging areas. Stephen Lunn is taking the top of the gate. He's from Northumberland. The bit in between, the middle part, this will be Brian Russell, who's from near Barnard Castle in County Durham. The third one is Chris Topp from near Thirsk, North Yorkshire. Well, we've got 115 coming. People are travelling from Sussex and Hampshire and all over the place, some from West Wales. You've got to bear in mind that there are professionals and there are amateurs. There are, for instance, we think upwards of 20 students coming from the National School of Blacksmithing, and it's a good opportunity for them to see how master smiths conduct this thing.
The section I'm doing is the top section of the gate. It's all about the River Tees. The river's just behind the museum here, and if you go out back of Peat's door, you can just wander down and there's the river, and it's very tranquil and peaceful and just full of plants and trees.
Yeah, well the brief was to, for me, for my section of the gate, to design something on the theme of the river or the sea and the history of and river traffic and so on. I found out that ships used to come as far as Yarm. Yarm was quite an important port at one time. It's a long way upriver, and it took them 3 tides to get there, and only ships of 60 tons could make it as far as Yarm. But that's why I've created a design that shows the pictures of little sailing ships rather than steamships or whatever.
Chris Topp, he's taking the theme of the railway, and this is because the track of the Stockton and Darlington railway runs over there through those woods. It's the first passenger railway in the world. So the railway forms one boundary, the western boundary, and the river forms the eastern boundary of the park.
It wasn't an easy thing to design something which represented steel, mechanics, engineering, and then marry it with 2 fairly natural subjects. So I don't know if we've done a good job or a bad job, but it's all a lot of fun.
Everyone's section had to fit within a single framework of forged steel. Behind the scenes, Adrian Wood, local master blacksmith, had set to work putting the pieces of his beautiful design together.
What we're going to do is mark all the holes out for the front stiles of the gate, ready for the tenons. We'll get them in the fire. First thing we'll do is punch the hole under the power hammer or with a sledgehammer, and then once we've punched and knocked the slug out, then we'll run it through with a drift just to get the width of the tenon that we want, and then flatten it off and straighten it underneath the fly press, and then onto the next hole.
We are doing the bottom panels, which is railway, which we have to mix up with, somehow we have to mix it up with the impressions of the river, which is the middle bit, and the impressions of nature, which is the top bit. Managed to get 2 complete teams going on my thing. At the last count there were 14 people working on my panel, so I must have pinched a few off the other guys.
It's not surprising that Chris has got so many hands on deck. His latticework design is a complex series of riveted strips which have to fit perfectly within his space of the gate. With so much work to do before the end of the weekend, it seems strange that everyone is so cheerful. Working hard on a weekend, 2 members of Chris's team took time out to explain what keeps them going.
It's the practical side of life, really. I mean, you know, it's actually doing something. You're not just doing, I mean, you might do the same thing every day, but sometimes you might do something completely different. Like you might have to do 70 rivets that we've been doing, but then like the next day, it'll be for something, but you won't have to do that again for quite a long time, probably. I mean, that's what it is. It's just awesome. It's a different thing every day.
I first started thinking of blacksmithing when I was around 16, and then I changed my thoughts, and then when I was nearly 18 I got work experience with a blacksmith in Pembrokeshire for a few days, and I just fell in love with it, and fell in love with the whole metal, heating it up. A lot of stress gets relieved between the hammer and the metal. You know, like I've never felt as calm as I am now. The
point is that I'm doing something I really enjoy. I love to forge hot metal, whether it's by hand or with the power hammers. I love designing things and having them made, making them myself in the workshop. I like working with other creative people in the workshop.
I'm afraid to say it's sort of like once you've touched iron, whether it's hot or cold, it's very, very addictive. You can't leave it alone. So you make something and then you put it down, you finish it, and you think, oh, what else am I going to make? And then you'll be making something, then you get sidetracked, and well, actually, that looks like something else, and you put that job aside and you get another bit of metal, and you'll end up making a little frog which is totally devoid of the job you're trying to do. And then at the end of the job, oh, that job's taken 2 weeks, what have I been doing? But you've got all these experimental pieces just lying. It's just so addictive.
It's a primitive kind of a process and procedure in a way. You get out what you put in, not just effort, but when you've got a bit of plastic material in your hands and you've got to manipulate it by your own efforts directly, it's an enormously rewarding thing.
I think blacksmithing is really good because it's just like a really fun thing to do, and I'm going to be a blacksmith when I'm older.
What do I like about the job? I think like most blacksmiths, the thing that grabs us probably above everything else is just how plastic steel can be. It's real squishy stuff. When you get it hot, you can mould it, you can shape it, you can do pretty much anything with it. And that's something an awful lot of people just don't realise, is that you've got this really intractable material that suddenly when you get it hot enough, you can just squish it around and move it and push it any way you want. And I think that's the thing that really gets people about it, you know.
With so much to do, the smiths and students alike work late into the evening at their forges. Eventually, the flames die down and the equipment is packed away. The first day was a great success, and an evening of celebration for Peat's Jubilee year begins in true blacksmith style.
Open it up with my duplicate key. It's the 25 years of successful business of Peat Oberon.
Well done and thank you. God bless Mr. Peat.
The beer flows like wine and the wine like water. As the instruments come out, music echoes across the campsite until the early hours. Not soon after they've gone to bed, the Smiths emerge into the morning light for the final day. A lot has to happen if their gate is going to be ready in time, and the forgers begin smoking once more. Brian's section is especially demanding.
And the design is 3 ships on each gate, with the sails billowing in the wind and flags, and a choppy sea in front of them.
This involves a lot of work because all those waves are going to have square corners, and it takes a few heats to knock up a square corner on a wave.
I thought it'd be a useful exercise for people who haven't done square corners very much. Because yes, the way they show them being made in books, it's I found out quite soon that it's a difficult way to do it, and I sort of developed my own way of doing it in the vice, which is quite straightforward really. Once you get the hang of it, it's quite quick.
Well, he would make it complicated anyway, Brian. It's just Brian. If it's not complicated, we don't want to do it. But he knows what he's doing. Good man, he is a good man.
We've got a wave here, a pair of waves here, which kind of, I'm not sure if these are adjusted, they might need a bit of tweaking. The sort of overlap like that. Right, choppy sea, hopefully, when it's all put together.
We've been working on the sails. There's some kind of sheet sails that we've been cold forging, and then and now we're just using a gas forge to kind of shape them and form them a bit more. And even though I've only got a few weeks experience, I'm in there actually making stuff today, and it's great. Now I'm just working on a blade of grass for another bit of the gate, which is going okay.
Stephen Lung is delegating his tasks to different people, and I'm either doing bits on my own or helping other people. And I'm helping a young lady at the moment, young girl student. She was just standing on the sidelines watching, and I said, "Come on, over here, come and give us a hand." And she come over, and I gave her a job to do, and she's doing it and then asking questions, and I'm showing her, and then she's carrying on.
This is the only industry I can think of, really, or the only craft, call it what you like, where we share our trade secrets without any thought about it. You know, you see this brilliant piece of work, you say, "How did you do that?" They'll tell you. You know, they're just, you know, how many chemical companies say, "Oh, how did you get that formula?" You know, it doesn't happen, does it?
I would say easy once a week somebody rings me up and, "Stephen, I'm having trouble doing this, how do you do it?" And I say, "Well, I'll do it that way. Don't know if it helps you, but you know, that's the way I do it." Yeah, but everybody's so willing to share information.
You stand in a circle with 6 other people, and each of you gives away one precious, hard-won, closely guarded trade secret. And there are such secrets that people have, and they're stock in trade very often. You give away this one trade secret, and you walk away with 5 you didn't know before.
It's kind of a bit like showing off as well, I think. If you've worked something out really neat and really clever, and you can show other people what you can do, people haven't stopped to think about, well, maybe I shouldn't, because I've worked this out for myself, and now it's available to everybody. But it's just an exuberance of spirit, really, and the fact that you have worked something pretty clever out, and you're really keen to show other people. It's the way blacksmithing has evolved since then. Everybody shares.
We've retraced the shape of the leaf on and centre punch marks all the way around. Now we're going to take heats on there and actually cut it out hot with chisels. Right? I did this one and Jake's going to do the other one. Yeah.
So we'll have a water line, we'll have below the water line, and we'll have water animals, we'll have water shrews, there's a frog in there, there's going to be a fish in, river weed. But on top of the water line, we then have all this area for all the plant life, the fauna of the riverbank, the bulrushes, all the lovely grasses and reeds. And some of these grasses are really, really tiny, and you don't really notice them. But when you put them on a piece of ironwork, you can expand them, you can make them bigger, and they still look correct. They don't have to be factually the right size.
Today I'm working under the forge mastership of Stephen Lunn, who's designed a section of the gate, and I'm actually working on just several elements of that. The leaves, which I've been working on with Jake Streeter, who's one of our students, and just about to make a start on forging a kingfisher.
With all of this camaraderie and goodwill amongst the smiths, the work soon takes on a pace. Pete takes a break from managing the event and gets stuck into helping Steve build his waterway panel. Animals start taking shape, and leaves and reeds grow to the sound of ringing anvils. It hasn't always been as good to be a blacksmith. It used to be a lonely job, but thanks to the formation of the British Artist Blacksmith Association, this all changed.
Richard Quinnell, he had tasked himself to find other people working in a decorative way in metalwork, because that's what he was doing, and he was already running quite a well-established business. And through the Crafts Council, COSIRA got in touch with blacksmiths throughout the land, and I was one of them, and went down there to his workshop in 1978.
1978, we got up this list of people, and we got our courage together. We sent out 50 invitations, and 30 people responded. And 30 people turned up on a Saturday morning at our workshop, and they were all strangers to each other. And people like Alan Dawson, who you know, and Jim Horrobin, and Stuart Hill, and a lot of people that we know very well. And within an hour, you know, we had a couple of barrels of beer, and everybody was very relaxed, and they weren't relaxed to start with, but they became very relaxed, and they began to realize they had a huge amount to talk about. And by the end of the weekend, we had BABA, British Artist Blacksmiths Association.
I got a letter through the post saying somebody was going to get an association started in England, and I wasn't able to get to the first meeting at Leatherhead because I didn't have that much money to start with. I thought it was a long way to go. I wrote back saying, please get in touch if it takes off. And so I went to the first official BABA meeting at the Royal Show the following year. It opened my eyes quite a bit to find there's other people doing creative work and things I'd never even considered doing before as well with metal, you know, three-dimensional objects and things that weren't scrolls and all sorts of creative work.
I went along to the first conference that I went to, which was at Farnham College, and I was just wandering around awestruck by what I saw, and met a bunch of people who were just so friendly and didn't seem to matter the fact that I knew nothing, and just showed me a whole load of stuff. And as I was saying to you before, everything I know I've been taught by the people I've met in BABA. 23 years later, I'm actually teaching blacksmithing, yeah.
When I first started work, I started in a general blacksmith shop. There was my father and my brother discovered BABA, and then I seen all these fantastic things being made by all these inventors of ironwork. And I got so fired up that day, I went rushing straight back home, and I said, ironwork's the way the business is going to go, and it's never changed.
Time is most definitely of the essence, but even when working to such a tight schedule, the master smith still makes small adjustments to get things perfect.
That's what's wanted, is kind of some kind of general pressure on it.
Let's see if it fits.
Master Smith Stephen Lund's section is as ambitious as it is intricate. The components for his waterway design still need a lot of forging, and with Adrian's frame nearly assembled, ready for the sections to go in, the other panels start to be presented to Adrian for fitting.
And it's just a case of this way, probably want to go along a bit. Same on the bottom there. You probably won't need that many, to be honest.
Stephen's elegant fire-welded reeds, leaves and grasses start to steadily take shape. Brian's section is now ready to be fitted. It is lifted into the completed frame and fixed into the pre-drilled holes along each side. With Chris's panels in place too, they're not finished yet. There's still another panel to do.
Basically just starting again on the next week.
The evening of the final day draws near. As the sun sets over the museum and the park gates are closed for the day, a frenzy of activity still burns away in the dusk. After working so hard, the final leaf of the gate is still not finished, and our smiths labour on. It's been a long weekend for everyone. In the darkness, sparks still fly. The gate needs to be finished if it is to get galvanised in time, ready for the installation. This is now a test of stamina as well as skill.